thoughts that I had on, on getting to this point again with Sensei's permission. So I was thinking of a couple of things, and in the Jewish learning cycle, there's this thing that's called the Daf Yomi, where you basically learn one page of the Talmud front and back every day. It started before the war in Europe in like 1923 or so. And the idea was that everyone would be on the same page. And again, it's a 7.5-year cycle where you learn every single day. So the cycle proceeded. Again, this was pre-war, World War II. And of course, continued, and that whole community was decimated and everything else. But, at first it was quite a small gathering. Again, with this 7.5-year cycle. The last one was New Year Day, I think 2020. So actually right before COVID started. So again, they make a big party at the end, and it's called the Siyum, or the conclusion. And the one that finished in 2020, they actually held in MetLife Stadium, the big football stadium in New York, where the football team plays. There were 100,000 people there in attendance at that one. And then there were other numerous celebrations going on throughout the world.
Live stream.
Live stream, whatever, and overflow and everything else. But beyond that, the thing is, so they finish the cycle, and they're happy, they've achieved this learning. And what happens the next day? They start all over again.
That's good.
They go exactly back to the beginning, 7.5 years later. I think you can get the takeaway: you're never done. There's no kind of I did that already. Been there, done that. I see the analogies, many, to training in karate, which leads me to another point that's I read actually it's from the book of Ecclesiastes, and it says, all the rivers flow into the sea, like the big sea, yet the sea is never full. And the rivers go back to where they came from. Again, this interchange where you see this kind of composition of, are you beginning, are you ending, are you in the middle? I think when I started with karate, I think in 2007 or something like that, introduced by my friend Naomi Stahl, who introduced me to Sensei in the dojo. Of course, you start off and you're so fixated on colors, belts, and so on. And I think as the process goes on, you kind of see that, again, it was tonight, what were we doing at the beginning of class? We were doing at least the first kata, the first Heian kata. And how there's different levels of interpretation. You can learn things in one way. When Sensei was teaching, I thought, if I can just master the 6 body movements, then I'll be all done. And as long as I get those, then I guess I know pretty much everything. Oh well, that didn't work. But I think you get the point. Which then just one more kind of story. Again, this is a story from the Talmud again, and it talks. I wrote a note down about this. So it talks about in the Talmud. It's in this chapter called Hagiga, and it talks about 4 sages who went into Pardes. We really don't know what Pardes is. Whether it was like some mystical force field. This is over 2,000 years ago. These aren't people from any time, probably pretty simple people. So they 4 went in. One's name was Ben Azai, one's name was Ben Zoma, one's name was Elisha Ben Abuya, and another one's name was Rabbi Akiva. So they go into this place, which I guess is kind of this orchard or this metaphysical experience. The first guy, Ben Azai, he goes in, he dies. Ben Zoma, he basically goes insane. He loses his sanity. The third guy, Aher, or Elisha Ben Abuya, he becomes a heretic or an apostate. He basically renounces everything he learned his whole life. And it says of Rabbi Akiva, he went in peace and he left in peace. How he went in is how he went out. And in thinking about that, of course, first of all, of course, thanking God, and then thanking my mother and my father of blessed memory. But in thinking about just that analogy, of course, starting off with Sensei, Sensei brings a certain energy every night, kind of newness and freshness. He doesn't really seem, at least to me, to be particularly affected by anything. or anyone. Now, again, I know he has a family with kids and everything else and a wife, so I'll let them comment on that. His son isn't here, so I guess he can't say anything. But he's just kind of, at least for this dojo, kind of our fortified rock. He doesn't seem to really change with the time. He's kind of immutable. He doesn't really go, and he seems, whatever the experience, whether he's in Czech Republic or wherever he goes in peace, and that's how he exits. And that's kind of what he represents to me, at least over the years, just kind of this constant source. I don't know what you think, but from 2007, the world's changed a lot. A lot. I mean, I think in the last 2 years, with the COVID pandemic, world altering, no one could have seen that coming or anything of the sort. I mean, we had, classes remotely here, and, I can't by any means say I understand everything that Sensei says, far from it, and sometimes I can't even hear what Sensei says, but I guess, I grasp what I can, and the rest I'll have to fill in. So beyond, of course, Sensei, and of course, Sensei Ruth, his wife, who was here earlier, and who's the, I guess you could say the backbone behind the whole operation. Of course, I want to thank all my teachers, which is really collectively all of you. And it's really all the people who, of course, are here, but there are many aren't. It was funny last night, I think I saw in the dojo, I think Peter came in. I hadn't seen him in years. I remember training with him years ago, and just other names that have come over the years of folks of all levels. And that's been part of my experiences, I guess, in terms of the training. Of course, we're led by Sensei, but of course we all have to kind of be our own teachers and learn from each other to the extent that we can. So, I hope going forward with the black belt and achieving that level, to me, now that I look at it, it's more of really just kind of, I think it was maybe Steve who said, okay, now you can actually really start learning something. And hopefully kind of in the spirit of the learning cycle I mentioned, starting over. So with that in mind, I just, I again want to thank everyone, wish everyone the best, and hopefully may we all grow in our lives from strength to strength.